Hey, welcome back to Vice Grip Garage. Vice Grip Garage. Vice Grip Garage. Vice Grip Garage. On this episode, I want to clean the fuel tank out. The most commonly asked question ever, forever, ever in the history of Vice Grip Garage. Share on with you what I know about the rig, and then we'll scan our papers on it, and then we got to start twirling some wrench. Welcome to Vice Grip Garage. In this episode, we're going to service on the old service truck over here.
For years, Vice Grip Garage was one of the most beloved car channels on YouTube, but then something changed. The uploads slowed, the videos looked different, and behind the scenes, rumors started swirling. Was Derek Bieri losing control of the very empire he built with his own two hands? Mysterious absences, sudden sponsorships, and unexpected business moves left fans divided and asking one simple question: what really happened to Vice Grip Garage? Today, we uncover the full story behind the rise, fall, and quiet fight to reclaim the soul of one of YouTube's most authentic creators. In the world of YouTube car restoration, few names command as much attention as Vice Grip Garage. But in recent years, loyal fans have found themselves asking an uncomfortable question: what happened to Derek Bieri? Once celebrated for his raw, unfiltered approach to breathing life back into long-forgotten vehicles, Derek's journey has taken unexpected turns, some of which have sparked intense debate across online communities. From sudden absences to heavily produced videos, from whispers of personal challenges to accusations of selling out, the man who built his empire one rusted bolt at a time is now facing the weight of fame, corporate partnerships, and the expectations of millions. Yet, behind the polished edits and growing business empire lies a story far more complex, a story of risk, resilience, and a quiet fight to hold on to authenticity in a world that changes faster than any engine rebuild. As we peel back the layers, we'll uncover how Derek Bieri rose from a small-town mechanic to a YouTube sensation, and how that very success may have threatened the soul of everything he built. Before the cameras, before the sponsors, before the millions of subscribers, Derek Bieri was simply a young man growing up in the wide-open fields of Minot, North Dakota. There were no media teams, no mentors teaching him the art of car restoration. Instead, there was an aging shed, a handful of worn-out tools, and a family philosophy built on one simple rule: if it breaks, you fix it. Born into a working-class family, Derek's early exposure to machinery came not from formal training, but from necessity. His father, a farmer; his grandfather, a repairman. Money was tight, parts were scarce, and professional help was a luxury few could afford. From a young age, Derek learned that problem-solving wasn't optional, it was survival. He tore apart bicycles, fiddled with broken wiring, and slowly taught himself the language of mechanics one mistake at a time. There were no YouTube tutorials, no forums to guide him through failed repairs, just instinct, stubbornness, and the will to make something work. It was these roots, this blue-collar, do-it-yourself mentality, that would eventually form the backbone of Vice Grip Garage. Long before the cameras rolled, Derek was already living the very philosophy that would captivate millions. Start where you are, use what you have, and never be afraid to get your hands dirty. Surprisingly, Derek Bieri's path didn't begin in the world of content creation or even professional mechanics. After high school, instead of enrolling in college or pursuing formal training, he entered the workforce. First in packaging, then climbing through roles in technical sales, and eventually into mid-level and senior management positions. On the surface, it was a stable life. The paychecks were consistent, the benefits were predictable, and the corporate ladder kept him moving forward. But behind the tidy office desk, something was missing. The sterile world of conference calls and quarterly targets offered no grease, no engines, no challenges that could be solved with a wrench and pure grit. The farther Derek moved up the corporate chain, the farther he drifted from the passion that had quietly fueled him since childhood. That disconnect reached a breaking point. In a leap that most would call reckless, Derek made the decision to walk away from corporate security and return to what he truly loved: reviving the forgotten, the abandoned, and the broken. But he wouldn't just fix cars, he'd document the journey. Armed with nothing more than a cracked iPhone and a shelf to prop it on, Derek filmed his first revival, a Camaro Z28, long dead and silent. There were no sponsors, no polished intros, no dramatic music cues. Just a man, a car, and the unmistakable thrill of hearing an engine roar back to life after years of silence. That single moment marked the quiet birth of Vice Grip Garage, a channel that, at first, wasn't chasing views or revenue, but rather captured the raw, honest process of doing what Derek loved. And viewers? They didn't just watch, they connected. What followed was nothing short of remarkable. Between 2018 and 2020, Vice Grip Garage went from a passion project to a full-blown phenomenon. Viewers flocked to Derek's channel, not because of fancy graphics or viral stunts, but because of something far more rare in today's digital world: authenticity. Derek's content wasn't scripted or sanitized. It was messy, unpredictable, and refreshingly honest. He didn't hide his mistakes. When something went wrong, and often it did, the camera kept rolling. When a starter wouldn't turn over, he'd break out the hammer. When an old carburetor refused to cooperate, viewers watched him troubleshoot live, sometimes for hours. And through it all, Derek's calm, humble demeanor never wavered. Iconic catchphrases like, "A fella oughta try that," and "Let's see if she'll chooch," quickly became part of the channel's identity. Fans clipped his quotes, printed them on t-shirts, plastered them on stickers, and built an informal community that extended far beyond YouTube. For many, Vice Grip Garage wasn't just a channel, it was a shared experience. Derek's restorations became legendary. His 600-mile road trip in a 1968 Buick LeSabre, a car that had sat abandoned for 26 years, pulled in millions of views. But it wasn't the car itself that captivated audiences. It was the journey, the setbacks, the improvisation, and the simple joy of watching someone succeed through patience, skill, and relentless determination. In an online world increasingly dominated by overproduced content, Vice Grip Garage stood out for its raw, unfiltered storytelling. Derek wasn't just fixing cars, he was building trust. And that trust turned into a loyal following that would carry him to heights few independent creators ever reach. But as Vice Grip Garage reached its peak, new doors began to open, and not without consequence. In 2022, Derek Bieri signed a major deal with Motortrend to co-produce Roadworthy Rescues, a professional television series that would broadcast his restorations to a far wider audience on cable networks and streaming platforms like Amazon Prime, Fubo, and Google Play. On paper, it was a dream opportunity, an independent creator breaking into mainstream media while staying true to his passion. Yet for many loyal fans, it marked the beginning of a slow and unsettling shift. The signs appeared quickly. Videos that once arrived on YouTube weekly were now delayed for weeks, sometimes even months, as Derek juggled TV production schedules with his online presence. The raw, unpolished videos that had endeared him to millions were replaced by slick edits, scripted dialogue, polished camera angles, and highly produced sequences. Online forums lit up with speculation. Reddit threads and car enthusiast boards began asking the same question: was Vice Grip Garage losing its soul? Adding fuel to the fire, Derek suddenly disappeared from YouTube for 3 weeks between late October and mid-November 2022, without explanation or farewell. For a channel built on transparency and consistency, the absence sent fans searching for answers. Some speculated burnout, others suspected mounting corporate pressure. A hastily deleted Facebook post surfaced briefly, reading, "Sometimes you need to step back and see what's worth keeping." It only deepened the mystery. The once intimate bond between creator and audience began to fray. Fans who once celebrated Derek as a self-reliant underdog now questioned whether big contracts and camera crews were steering him away from everything Vice Grip Garage once represented. As fans grappled with the channel's changing tone, another layer of concern quietly surfaced, this time far more personal. Between July and September of 2023, longtime viewers noticed something unusual. Jessica, Derek's wife and frequent on-screen partner, had vanished from nearly a dozen consecutive videos. For years, Jessica had been a steady presence, helping with logistics, appearing at events, and offering a quiet balance to Derek's calm approach. Together, they presented not just a restoration business, but a family endeavor. Her absence, without any explanation, quickly became a hot topic in fan forums and comment sections. Was it a personal issue, marital tension, business disagreements? Speculation ran wild. In the absence of information, rumors filled the void. The whispers intensified as fans linked her disappearance to the broader changes in Derek's content: more polish, longer breaks, and mounting commercial obligations. Some questioned whether the pressures of fame and business expansion were taking a toll not just on the content, but on Derek's family life itself. But then, in 2024, Jessica made a public return, standing alongside Derek at the MCOM event in Indianapolis, where the couple presented 5 newly revived classic cars together. The sight of them working side by side again offered fans a measure of relief, calming some of the more extreme speculation. Still, the temporary absence had exposed something deeper. As Derek's world expanded into big business and television, even his most devoted followers couldn't help but wonder how much strain was occurring behind the scenes, and how much of the original Vice Grip Garage spirit might be at risk. As Vice Grip Garage grew, so too did its business footprint. What started as simple, self-funded car rescues quickly evolved into a full-fledged brand empire. By 2023, ViceGripGarage.com was selling hats, shirts, decals, and accessories, all branded with Derek's signature phrases and logos. The merchandise didn't just sell, it vanished. Items routinely sold out within hours of being listed, a clear sign that demand was surging beyond even Derek's expectations. For any entrepreneur, it was a textbook success story. But for a portion of his audience, it was something else entirely. A warning sign. The concerns weren't just about t-shirts. Longtime viewers began noticing the growing presence of sponsorships and product placements. Brands like Motion Raceworks, Summit Racing, and KSR Performance started appearing repeatedly in his videos, often accompanied by discount codes and product showcases. While sponsorships are a staple in modern content creation, for some fans, it clashed with the core image that drew them in. A resourceful mechanic fixing cars with what little he had, not what sponsors provided. More scrutiny arrived in 2025, when Derek auctioned off 5 of his classic car builds at the prestigious Mecum auction in Indianapolis. For some followers, it was the final confirmation that Vice Grip Garage was shifting from a garage-centered hobby to a carefully orchestrated business operation, where passion projects risked becoming commercial assets. Critics accused Derek of selling out, of turning Vice Grip Garage into a corporate machine, but others argued that expansion was inevitable. With over 2 million subscribers, mounting production costs, and a schedule packed with appearances, auctions offered a pragmatic way to finance future projects and keep the content flowing. Even as the debates raged, Derek stayed silent, never publicly addressing the criticism, never responding to the swirling accusations. But behind the scenes, the tension between maintaining authenticity and managing a growing business empire was undeniable. As the debates around Vice Grip Garage's direction reached a fever pitch, something unexpected began to happen, silently and without announcement. Starting in late 2024, observant viewers noticed a shift in Derek's videos once again. Gone were some of the overly polished edits, the tightly choreographed shots, and the studio-perfect pacing. In their place, small editing mistakes, longer raw sequences, unscripted reactions, and that familiar organic feel that had first attracted millions. The old Vice Grip Garage spirit was resurfacing. There were no public statements or grand promises. Derek never addressed the criticism head-on, nor did he attempt to explain the change. Instead, he simply let the content speak for itself. Projects like the Let's Fail Together series offered viewers exactly what they had been craving: unsure outcomes, low-budget restorations, and a familiar sense of watching a real mechanic figure things out in real time. For many fans, it felt like a homecoming. The man who had once filmed cold starts with a cracked iPhone seemed to be reclaiming his roots, not by rejecting growth, but by subtly reminding everyone where it all began. In an era where many creators doubled down on spectacle to maintain relevance, Derek Bieri took a quieter, more deliberate path, allowing imperfections back into the frame, and with them, restoring the trust that first built his empire. Behind the millions of views, the sponsorships, and the restored classics stands a man whose private life remains largely shielded from public view. by design. Derek Bieri isn't one to chase the spotlight off camera. In 2020, he moved his family from Minnesota to a quiet farmhouse in Lewisburg, Tennessee, deliberately trading city life for open space, lower costs, and a property where zoning restrictions wouldn't limit his growing garage operation. It was here that Vice Grip Garage reached its peak, not inside a studio, but inside a homegrown workshop outfitted with little more than a few cameras and sheer determination. At the center of it all remains his family. Derek and Jessica are raising 3 sons, whose names and faces are intentionally kept private. Occasionally, viewers catch glimpses of the boys running through the background or lending a hand during filming. But Derek has made a clear choice to protect his children from the public eye while building a business that remains family-friendly, content suitable for both teenagers learning to turn wrenches and fathers passing down knowledge to their kids. The demands of the business, however, are anything but light. In a rare 2024 podcast interview, Derek revealed that he often works over 100 hours a week, balancing filming, editing, scouting cars, ordering parts, and even handwriting video scripts on his garage walls. When he's not behind the camera, he's often the one personally answering customer emails and handling merchandise orders with Jessica. Even injuries don't slow him down for long. In 2023, Derek slipped while loading a Ford pickup onto a trailer, injuring his leg. True to form, he quietly worked through the pain, mentioning the setback only briefly in an interview. "That set me back like 3 days. Then, without fanfare, he removed the plank from his leg and went back to filming." He steers clear of politics, social commentary, or public debates, both personally and professionally. His only active social media presence is the official Vice Grip Garage account, which strictly posts video updates, merchandise drops, or upcoming events. For Derek, social media isn't a platform for personal opinion. It's simply another tool to serve the work. Yet, behind the scenes, there are moments that reveal his deeper character. In 2025, at the Meckham auction, Derek quietly donated all proceeds from the sale of an Oldsmobile 442 to a local autism charity, without press releases, cameras, or public acknowledgement. Only a brief note in the event ledger confirmed the generous act. When asked later, his response was simple: "If I'm making money doing what I love, I want to give some of it back to the community." In a world where content creators often live their lives on full display, Derek Bieri remains something increasingly rare. A man whose work speaks louder than his words, and whose integrity is measured not by what he says, by how he lives behind closed doors. For all the controversies, business moves, and personal speculation, one thing remains undeniable. Millions of people still return to Vice Grip Garage week after week. In a digital landscape dominated by clickbait, drama, and over-the-top production, Derek Bieri offers something far more valuable: consistency, humility, and a quiet confidence that draws viewers in. His videos aren't designed to shock or spark outrage. Instead, they capture something almost nostalgic: the satisfaction of solving real problems, one stubborn bolt at a time. Derek doesn't shout, he doesn't posture, and he doesn't pretend to have all the answers. When a repair fails, he shows it. When something unexpected happens, he adapts. His patience under pressure, his steady humor in the face of frustration, and his ability to break down complex mechanical challenges into simple, relatable moments make his content feel personal, even intimate. Viewers don't just come to see cars being revived, they come to witness a philosophy in motion, that anything is possible if you're willing to learn, work, and keep going, even when success isn't guaranteed. It's a lesson that resonates far beyond the garage, speaking to anyone who's ever faced a challenge and refused to quit. As series like Let's Fail Together demonstrate, part of Derek's enduring appeal lies in his willingness to embrace uncertainty. Viewers join him not for perfection, but for the journey. They root for him because his victories feel earned, not manufactured. And even when a project spirals into chaos, it's never staged drama. It's simply real life unfolding, tools in hand. In a world where so much content feels designed to manipulate emotions, Vice Grip Garage stands out for being at its core genuine. And that authenticity remains the strongest engine driving millions of loyal subscribers to keep clicking play. In the fast-moving world of digital content, where fame can fade as quickly as it rises, Derek Bieri has managed to do something remarkable: adapt, grow, stumble, and still hold on to the core of what made Vice Grip Garage special in the first place. Yes, the cameras got better. Yes, the sponsorships grew. And yes, the business expanded into auctions, merchandise, and television deals. But at the heart of it all remains the same quiet determination that first drew millions of viewers: a man, a set of tools, and an engine that refuses to start. Derek Bieri never set out to be a celebrity. He never chased viral fame or sensational headlines. He simply turned on a camera, picked up a wrench, and let viewers watch as he figured it out, one seized bolt, one stubborn carburetor, and one failed attempt at a time. In a digital world increasingly designed for fast emotions and short attention spans, Vice Grip Garage offers something refreshingly rare: the honest, imperfect pursuit of mastery. And that's why millions still tune in. Not for the flawless restorations, not for the drama, but for the steady reminder that even in failure, there's something worth watching, something real. Because in the end, as long as Derek keeps showing up in that garage, wrench in hand, the fire will keep burning and viewers will keep coming back.